Chicana, our correspondent in Washington, D.C. Let's speak now to John Graham. He's a former U.S. diplomat at the American Embassy in Libya. Mr. Graham, thanks ever so much for taking the time to be with us. This is very close to your heart, of course. Has the anger directed towards Americans who are based there shocked you?
No. There's an enormous tumult in the Arab world ever since the Arab Spring. And there are all kinds of factions and all kinds of unresolved issues in both Libya and in Egypt, as your viewers well know. So anything can happen out there. It's the Wild West out there, and no, this doesn't shock me. What does shock me is quite frankly the fodder that some are using in the United States in terms of our current presidential campaign, using this issue as a domestic political issue. That does shock me.
Are we talking about a select, furious few, if you like, or is the discontent much more widespread? What is the scope of it here that you're talking about in Libya?
Well, I think what President Obama and Secretary of State Clinton were trying to do with their statements was not to inflame the entire Arab world, because they recognize perfectly well that most Arab nations are trying to do the right thing to build their nations. Most Muslim people have a good deal of respect for the United States, even if they don't agree with all of our policies. And so, therefore, there's every incentive to tread extremely carefully, which Obama's statement did. So what we're dealing with, I think, are Islamic opportunists. Who knows? Some say that this incident in Benghazi could have been planned even by them. I think most likely they simply took advantage of it. And there are a lot of opportunistic mullahs and Islamists who will see this as a great chance in order to further their anti-American aims. But they are a small minority. The danger is that American policy will not be sensitive enough in order to condemn these extremists, find and punish the perpetrators, and still not enrage the entire Arab world.
I don't know what your timeline was at the embassy there, but did you actually personally know yourself, Christopher Stevens?
I did not. I confess I'm a bit older than his rank of diplomats. Okay. But still, it was an American Foreign Service officer. I am outraged by the killing, and my sympathy goes to the families of the fallen.
This is the first time, of course, the U.S. ambassador has been killed while in the job since 1979. What does it mean for Washington, do you think, this morning?
Well, I think all of us recognize, and certainly I did when I was in the Foreign Service, that it can be a dangerous occupation. And you got American Foreign Service officers in Afghanistan. When I was in Vietnam, I was a Foreign Service officer. It's a dangerous occupation. So we regret the fact that there are 4 more names on our remembrance wall, but it does happen. I think Obama made the right statement in saying we won't rest until we find and punish the perpetrators. John,
we're a bit tight for time. Let's talk about this film that's sparked this now, it appears. It sent shockwaves through the Arab world with another anti-US protest earlier on Wednesday in Tunisia. Do you fear further unrest spreading now in the region?
It could. It could. That's why the situation has to be handled so extremely carefully, and why I'm glad to see that some of Obama's opponents in the United States, his political opponents, are recognizing that and getting behind him in this moment of national crisis. But it has to be handled extremely carefully. If it's not handled carefully, we're simply playing into the hands of opportunistic mullahs and perhaps Al-Qaeda operatives who would see this as a wonderful opportunity to enrage the Arab street against the United States.
You know, it depends how you look at it. I mean, one YouTube clip alone has made a bigger impact, it seems, on the region's attitude towards America than all those billions spent on the Arab Spring.
Well, I think I wouldn't agree with that. I think what goes on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, we've well known now for several years that it has enormous influence from Iran to Tunisia. What is his name, Basili said, the California filmmaker, I mean, it was outrageously irresponsible, but in the United States, it's a First Amendment right for this man to make such a film, so there's little we can do to stop him.
John Graham, thank you for your time. Former diplomat at the US Embassy in Libya there, as you are. Much appreciated.
My pleasure.